Good evening, everybody. How are we all doing? Great stuff. Welcome, guys. Welcome to our first mentoring session for 2021. So I think I've already had conversations with some of you guys. Some of you already know me. Some of you don't know me yet. But my name is Kwame Iwusu-Ansah. I am the chief servant of Techstrippeed Africa. And like some of you know, Techstrippeed Africa is basically an accelerator, a startup accelerator, and influencer network. What we're looking to do is to make sure that all of you guys who are joining on this platform right now would become great in the tech space. One of the things that I wish I had when I was in the university was to have somebody mentor me like this, right? To get people talking to me about career choices and how to maximize my potential, how to be great in my space. But I didn't get that. So after school and going through the mill and looking at and seeing everything that is happening in Ghana and how the economy is messing up and how a lot of graduates are being churned out of school, but they are not getting jobs to do, I felt the need to get us moving with Techstrippeed Africa. So it's an error to be a tech student, for you to graduate from school and join the pool of supposed what do they call them? Unemployed Graduates Association of Ghana. It's an error. I don't think it's something that has to be tolerated, and this is what we are looking to avoid. So gracefully today I have one of my best friends from long to have a conversation with us today. His name is Yirenkyi Danquah. Me and Albert, we go way back to secondary school. So I'm pretty sure he will introduce himself. He's now the Chief Information Security Officer at Stanbic Bank Ghana. Yeah. He will introduce himself, and then we will get into him talking to us on the topic of how we can prepare and position ourselves for opportunities in the cybersecurity space. So Albert, the floor is yours now. Take over.
All right. Thank you, Kwame. Good evening to you all. It's great to meet all of you. So without much ado, I will just go straight into my presentation, if I may. Okay, cool.
Let me enable you to share your screen.
Right.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Another case,
Okay, please let me know when you can see my screen.
Please, I can see you.
All right, great. Kwame, I'm in presentation mode, so if there's a question or a hand up and you would like to draw my attention to it, please do.
Sure, I will.
All right. So, who am I? I want to start with a brief introduction of myself before we start talking about why we are even having this conversation. I find out that mostly when people know you, they listen to you more than when you start talking and they get to know you later. So I am Albert Yirenkyi Danquah. I manage information security, or cybersecurity as most of you know it to be, for Stanbic Bank Ghana. I've been in the industry, say IT space, for quite some time now. Well, about 13 years or 12 to 13 years or so, yeah. And within that time, I have been a programmer before. I've been a networks and systems administrator before. I've been an IT auditor before. And eventually, I have settled with cyber security or IT security. Today, we are not talking about all the things that we can talk about in IT. I'll just touch on it a little bit, but largely we are going to discuss about cybersecurity and the roles within cybersecurity. All right. I also sit on the board for ISACA. If any of you have heard of ISACA, it's an international certification body. So the Accra chapter, I do sit on it. If you look at the presentation I have now and the letters after my name down there, those are some of the certification. I've only picked 2, 4, 6, 8, about eight or 9 of them. I do have about 15 certifications. I'll go into those things shortly. But there's the ones that I just choose to talk about lately. All right. It's supposed to be an interactive session. So if I mention something and you want more clarity, you can either drop it in the chat or raise your hand up, and let's have a conversation. It's not supposed to be a one-way thing, right? Okay. So we hear a lot about cybersecurity, information security. I just want to give you the difference between the two, right? Before we go into the conversation. Now, information security is the protection of information, whether the information is on a tablet, whether it's on a piece of paper, whether you have tattooed it on yourself, so far as it's some kind of information that you want to protect or keep secure, that is information security. Cybersecurity is keeping information secure, but mostly this information is kept digitally. So it will be on a laptop or a phone or a tablet. And most of the times, if you want to extend the definition, we would say that if it's hooked up to the internet. So you hear cyber, we are talking more of digital, more internet, and all of that. So you realize that cyber security is a subset of information security, because information security, you are looking at all the information assets of the organization. Cyber security is just a portion of it that's hooked up to the internet, but we use it interchangeably. So cyber security, information security, most of the times we use it interchangeably. Talking about career in cyber security, more or less, we are talking about career in information security. Why is this area buzzing like that? You cannot go into any IT conversation and not hear about cyber. Why is this buzzing so much? You do realize that what I have here is a snapshot of some information security or cyber security breaches that's happening across the world. I won't go into this. We have a lot of data breaches out there. You know, Yahoo, LinkedIn, Alibaba. Almost every time there's a breach here or there. Now, if you look at what I have here, this is an indication of how Ghana is being attacked, right? As at the time I took this screenshot, actively, Ghana was the 78th most attacked country as at the time. This changes depending on the activity of the day. So what I'm trying to show you here is that in Ghana, there's a lot of cyber attack that happens, and our cyberspace is very busy. Okay. If you look at the statistics, you realize that a lot of us are online. So we have about 31 million people. That's our total population. This is before the census. Can't remember what our population is now, but looking at this, our population, yet we have about 41 million mobile connections, which means the number of mobile phones we have in this country is more than our total population, right? We have about 15 million of us using the internet. And when it comes to social media, about 8.2 million of us. Now, if you look at how many people are online vis-a-vis our total population, even if you come down here, you're looking at the spend that we actually making payments up to the tune of $6.6 million almost every year online. Those are the payments that we are making online, right? That's the payment transactions. Now, if you look at the value of consumer payments, that's about $2.9 billion in this nation. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that we are very busy in the cyberspace. We are browsing, we are making payments, we are making purchases and all of that. Even the government is really moving into the e-space, where now, if you try to acquire a passport right now, you won't make any physical payment. You go online, you put in your request, and then you pay online with either your Visa card or mobile money, right? Because of this, how busy we are in the cyberspace, obviously, people are also out there trying to hack the nation. We do find that sometimes you hear a bank hacked here and there, the government's websites being hacked here and there. So many things are happening. You may not hear of all of it, but a lot of things are happening. I'll give you an example. I talk about hackers, right? Hackers are individuals who access information without the permission of the information owner. Okay, so if you have an information, assuming you have some information you've written down in your notebook, you put it in a drawer, someone opens the drawer and takes the information. The person has access to that information without your knowledge, right? Mostly we use hackers to mean people who sit behind computers and try to break into networks and all of that. For the purpose of this discussion, let's just say those are who hackers are. And any time we talk about hackers, we are talking about the bad guys, right? Now, apart from those guys, there are people we call the hacktivists. Hacktivists are people, they are hackers, all right, but instead of hacking to gain money, they hack to prove a point. So instead of protesting, going around with placards, they decide to hack an organization just to make their point. Those are hacktivists. There are also cyber terrorism. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Now, if you look at what I have here, let's pick the transportation sector or the aviation sector. If I am a suicide bomber and I have to choose between getting on the plane and bombing the plane, there's a high possibility that I will die too, right? Now, what if I go to heaven and I don't get the 99 virgin as promised? So now the terrorists, they have also learned what they can do now is to probably just hack into the plane, and it's possible you can do that, or hack into Ghana airports. If you get to the control tower, about seven airplanes are trying to land. Then if you hack into the control tower and you tell all the pilots, oh, it's okay to land at 12:02. Tell this one, land at 12:02. You tell the other one, land at 12:02. What do you think is going to happen? Now, all these planes will try to land at the same time because they are relying on the information being given at the control tower, and chaos. There's going to be an accident. So if I am a terrorist, I'll be able to cause this accident without even losing a hair on my head, which means now terrorism is becoming lucrative, it's becoming more ingenious, it's becoming better because you can actually commit that crime without even being a step. Likewise, telecommunications. The last time that WhatsApp went down and Facebook went down, almost all of us were just cranking. I mean, you can't communicate. It had become part of us. So assuming they get hacked and we can't communicate, you are not able to call people. Or the energy sector, if grid code is, or ECG gets hacked right now and they cannot produce electricity, or we cannot purchase prepaid, we are going to be in darkness. So imagine the entire nation being plunged into darkness. As for the financial industry, I don't even want to talk about it, because that's where most of the hacking happens, because that's where the cash is, right? If I'm going to spend my time trying to get paid, I might as well just target the bank, because that's where I'm likely to get cash. Likewise, the government agencies and all of that we rely on them so much. If the passport office is hacked right now and they can't issue passports, imagine what's going to happen. Academic institution, someone hacks into your school's system and then decide to just wipe your grades. When that happens, those of you with lower grades, you're very happy because you get a chance to rewrite, right? But imagine you got first class and then the whole thing is wiped and they ask you to come write again. So you get a sense of what we are dealing with. These are the adverse effects of going digital. These are some of the risks we deal with when we try to rely on technology to improve our livelihood. The governments have seen that, right? So what they've done is that they've issued a Cybersecurity Act, was issued last year. This Cybersecurity Act has established an authority. So there's a cybersecurity authority. And what they seek to do is to promote cybersecurity within Ghana. And for certain organizations, so these organizations, we call them the critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure. So if you pick an organization like ECG has now been tagged as a critical infrastructure to the nation. Because of that, they are now being forced to implement certain security controls so that they don't get hacked. So imagine all of these companies have been tagged as critical infrastructure, and they are expected to institute or implement security controls so that they don't get hacked. Now, when we talk about information security, there are three things we are always talking about. We are talking about confidentiality of information. When we say confidentiality of information, what we mean is that any information that we have, it's only on need to know basis. So we do not have to disclose that information. So you go to a bank and then you keep your money there. You expect the bank not to tell anybody about the amount of money that you have. Go to a hospital, you are diagnosed with a certain kind of illness. You expect the hospital not to disclose that information to anybody. That is confidentiality, right? Let's bring it to our lives. If you are doing consult with someone, you're telling the person, do not disclose this. That's confidentiality, all right? And then integrity. Integrity means that the information that we are holding is of the highest level of, or we can trust that information. So say you go to a bank, you check your balance at the teller point and they tell you that you have 597 cedis, 20 pesos. Then you check your balance at the ATM and it tells you that you have 232 cedis, 49 pesos. You're going to ask, what's happening here? Why did the teller tell me I have 500 and something and the ATM is telling me I have 200 and something? That the information the bank holds is not of the highest integrity. There's a problem, there's a challenge with that information. And then availability. Availability means that anytime I want the information, it should be available. If I go to the ATM and I'm checking my balance, that information should be available. They shouldn't tell me that the information is not available or anything of that sort, right? So that's got to do with cybersecurity and why we need to do that. There's also the Data Protection Act, which is also a law that has been passed, forcing companies to protect our data. So if you ever collect information from anybody within Ghana, we expect you as a company to protect that information. Okay. Now, I just gave that background to let you know that the talk about cybersecurity, we're always talking about cybersecurity here and there. This is why. In cybersecurity, for all the things that I have mentioned, there's so many things that need to be done before we can achieve that security. Okay, so There's a background, right? Thanks. So if we talk about cybersecurity, hi, Joseph. If you can mute for us, we'd be grateful.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Right. So if we talk about cybersecurity, it is not just one role that is in cybersecurity. Now, if you can see my screen and you see what I have in there, these are all areas in cybersecurity that one can concentrate on. At this point, let me go back to my story. So I completed tech in 2009. And at the time, all that you know, I mean, those of you who are doing computer science, maybe it's changed now, but at the time, all that you hear of is, well, if you do this course, you're either going to be a database administrator or a networks administrator or systems administrator or software developer. Those were the 4 careers in IT that we knew at the time. Now, fortunately for me, when I was doing my national service, or where I got to do my national service, that's the Kofi Annan ICT Center, I got exposed to a whole lot of domains within IT. So there was a class on CCNA, there was a class on web development, there was a class on Linux and security and all of that, so many things in there. That was when I realized that actually, when it comes to IT or computer science, or I mean, that domain, there's so much roles in there, there's so many responsibilities in there that one can take. Actually, but then I realized it's not for me. Why? Because for 3 days I could sit, right? I could sit just programming, because the topic I chose or the project I chose was so big that it was when we got to defense that I realized that subsections of my projects were people's full projects, which means I was just killing myself. But then the programming stuff that I was doing there was quite nice. You know, when you get it, you're happy. But then just a small dot somewhere will just mess your 3 hours up. Just be looking, why am I getting error? So for me, I realized that that's not what I want. There's so many people who are really sharp at it. They can do the development and all you need is a very good idea, and then you're done. You are set for life, right? So there's no right or wrong career when it comes to IT. You just have to look for what resonates with your heart, right? Now, there are a lot of roles in networking, you know, where you have people trying to set up a whole network and all of that. Because for all the things that I mentioned, for them to work, you need someone to set up a network, you need someone to set a database up, you need someone to do this. But what I focused on was cybersecurity. And the reason cybersecurity is important, what I have mentioned, you have the hackers, you have these regulations coming. But today, it's even more important because every organization, 1, has a website, 2, allows you to make payments online, 3, they are doing all their operations online, and 4, their systems are running on computers. If there's any organization today that their system is not running on computers, maybe the watch is seller, right? Even them, now they are taking the QR code, they are taking mobile money and all of that. Okay. So all the systems that we have today, all the companies that we have today, everyone is running on a computer. But we have all these attackers who are also trying to get paid. Now, people have realized that instead of picking a gun, going to a bank to rob the vault, I can actually sit down. If I'm able to get to their internet banking, I can transfer money free, right? and then I can even obscure so that I don't get caught. So what it means is that these companies need people to protect their information, because they do realize that everything that they do today is running on computer systems. And if someone gets into that system, they are done. So because of that, there's a lot of push, a lot of people looking for cybersecurity professionals. And again, there has been 2 laws that have been passed in this nation, right? But it's even 3. I forgot about this. Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana too has issued a directive to all financial institutions that 1, you should have a cybersecurity team. You should do this, you should do that, you should do this to protect it. So every bank, every microfinance, every savings and loan, they're running helter-skelter looking for cybersecurity professionals. But there's a huge shortage in the system. Even if you project into the future, I don't think we will go back to using books. So far as we are still using computers, so far as we are being digital, there's going to be a need for someone to protect the information we are keeping on these systems, which means we are going to need cybersecurity professionals. Now let's delve into cybersecurity. So when it comes to cybersecurity, it's not just one role. In cybersecurity, you need people to do threat intelligence. Just think about it like any security organization. So even in the police, you need people to scout around, pick threat information. If you think about the military, same, scout around, think about what can go wrong. So we need people to do threat intelligence. What these people will do is they will scout online, scout dark web. When I say dark web, that's really where the hackers play. They scout there to see if the organization, any information on the organization has been shared in the dark web, or people are selling the information in the dark web. You need to gather this information. You need to gather information about what's happening there, which company has been hacked, how did they get into it. You need people to do that threat intelligence so that we, the organization, can also know what to do. We need people to do cyber education, because you need to educate your staff on what to do, what not to do. We need people to do security operation. So let me just give you a brief of what security operation is. So security operation, if you think about, say, antivirus, right? In a company that has over 1,000 machines, we need someone who would ensure that antivirus is on all of these machines, they are running well, and they are picking the right things. So we need security operations, people to run that. We need people to ensure that staff cannot email information. Remember, we talked about the CIA triad, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So if someone is in your company and the person is selling information of the company, you need systems to be able to block that. If you are sending email that contains confidential information, that shouldn't go. We need people to be looking at such, right? We need people to be looking at, say, identity management. So for instance, who can log on to what system? Who can have access to this? It doesn't just come up. Someone has to set it up, someone has to manage it. Also, you will need things about security architecture. So if you are building a system, just like if you are building a building, you will need an architect to actually do the design and everything. Same in security, because even though the programmer can just sit and then be coding something, someone should have a security mindset to say, implement this way, so that if the person logs in, don't show this at the same immediately. Let the person go through this authentication before that. So that's security architecture. You need someone to be that. There are so many standards that an organization needs to form part of. You need someone to be looking at those things. So I mean, I can go on and on and on. Now, if you look at this mind map that I have here, these are all the things that can be done in cybersecurity. So don't think cybersecurity is just one thing, stopping hackers, or you're going to hack. A lot of you, when you hear cybersecurity, all you think about is, I'm going to hack. So you just go online, you read something about Kalila, and also you're able to do some categories like, hey, I'm a security person, I can hack. Cybersecurity is not solely about hacking. Hacking is just a very minute aspect of cybersecurity. There's so many interesting things within cybersecurity that one can get into. There are even laws and regulations, governance, and so many things within cybersecurity. So it's not a boring space, and it is a space that will require a lot of people, you know. Now, if you look at all the things that we have here, if an organization is to implement all of these things, how many people do you to do this cybersecurity? Now, the question is, fine, cybersecurity, how do I get into it? All right. Now, how do you get into it? Yes, Vivian.
Hi, hello. So a quick one, I wanted to ask, with the diagram you're showing, I'm a little bit intrigued with the physical security. How does that correlate? Like, I'm just a bit curious about that.
Okay. So all the systems that you have, so let's pick a typical bank, right? You're able to do internet banking transaction. And that system that you have sits on the server. Okay. So assume that someone can actually walk into the data center, unplug the server, and carry the server away. One, all the customer information that you have on the server, confidentiality, would have lost it because the person will have access to it. And two, once that server is off, someone has stolen the server, your service is no longer available. Just imagine how frustrating you get when you get to an ATM and it's not working because someone has stolen a server. For that reason, we will need to protect the server. So that's where physical security comes in. So you walk into an office, you have a security guard, you have biometric, and they ask you to log into a register. Who are you looking for? Where's your badge? All of those things are the physical security that you need to protect the information assets.
Okay, thank you.
All right, welcome. All right. So how do we get into the cybersecurity space? There are so many certifications. There's so many certifications when it comes to cybersecurity, and it can get overwhelming, right? Then you're wondering, should I take CISA? Should I take Security Plus? Should I take this? Just chill, right? Then take your time. First of all, just pick an hour or 2 or 30 minutes, right? Just go around. You can just Google cybersecurity career, read about them. Now, you would realize that there are so many things in here. If you come back to, if you do read about these things, right, you just find some 15 minutes and read about each of them. You notice 1 or 2 that really you resonate with, that you'll be more interested to know about, that you would think if you ever develop a career in it, it would be very interesting. I met a lady recently who said, I am doing a SOC. SOC is Security Operation Center, right? But I am interested in IT governance. So there you can see clearly that, okay, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to get to, okay? So just take your time, just go there, read about some of these things, and you have an idea of where your interests lie. At this stage, you are in school, no rush. You still have some time to come out of school. Even if you are graduating in the next week, you still have 1 year during your national service time to figure out your career. It is not out of place that now you don't even know what to do with your life. We were all there. When I was doing my service, I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life, right? So I discovered that, yes, I can do cybersecurity, and then I started focusing on it. So what did I do? What I did then was, during the national service, I discovered that, okay, there's security. I learned as much as possible from the network, from the systems, from the Linux and all of that. Then I decided to do CISA. Look at my sheet, CISA is here. That's Certified Information Systems Auditor. I did CISA because that was what I was exposed to. At that time, I didn't know there was a CISSP or GIAC and all of these things. All that I had heard of was CISA, so I did that. Now, after I did CISA, I realized that it is for IT systems or information systems auditing. I really don't want to do information systems auditing. I want to do security, right? So then I decided to do what's here, CISA, that is Certified Information Security Manager. That's CISA. Then later on, I decided to do serious and CJIT, and I'll tell you why I was doing those things. So for me, it became like part of me, right? That after I understood security and I had decided that this is what I want to do, I realized that the more you learn, the more you need to learn. Let me take it again. The more you learn, the more you realize that, or the more you need to learn. So the more you know, you realize you need to know more. Why do I say so? You read something today, by the next week, there's new information out there. Now, when it comes to cybersecurity, because it's a specialized field, it's just like being a surgeon. In the conversation, you meet a surgeon, you expect the surgeon to know everything about the human parts because they operate on it, right?
Yes.
Cybersecurity is a specialized area. So when you tell someone that, it's just like when we started IT, even now, if you're doing computer science or anything about IT, someone will just call you and say, oh, my phone is not coming. Unfortunately for us, when we started doing IT, that was when the phone was really there. You get your mother, someone will meet you in your village and say, oh, so you do IT. My phone is not coming on. Like, what I learned in school has nothing to do with phone, right? Someone will call you, my laptop. It's like, I don't repair laptop. I haven't even seen the internal workings of a laptop before, okay? So when it comes to cybersecurity, because it's a specialized field, people expect you to know all. In fact, in meetings, people are doing projects, like serious projects, and then they will say, oh, let's ask the security guy if it is okay to do it or not. They expect you to know. How do you know? I mean, you can't know everything. Tell you a story. There was one day I left home, I was going to work. So in traffic, I decided to just scroll through an article. Then something caught my eye. I just read about it in passing. When I got to the office, there was a meeting. Coincidentally, the topic was around what I had read, risk around it. So they brought it up, oh, so we want to do this. And I said, oh, no. So this, that we want to do, these are the issues that we need to solve about it, blah, 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 and all of that. They were like, yeah. The security guy is true. So I went back to my desk and I was like, so had I not read that article the morning before, would I have been a less qualified profession? Meanwhile, everyone expects me to know everything, right? So you realize that in this field, because it's specialized, you need to learn more. So you don't do just one course and decide that, yeah, that's why you see a lot of people doing so many courses. It's not like you just love to chase certifications, but you do realize that you know this, tomorrow you need to know that, you need to know this. Unfortunately for us in Ghana, when they hire you as a security expert, as they would call you, but you know in your heart that you are not an expert, they expect you to do everything on this sheet. Especially if the company is a small company. They expect you to know everything on this sheet, understand everything on this sheet, and be able to implement everything on this sheet. If that is the case, will you ever stop learning? But it's an interesting space. The more you learn, the more you enjoy the space. Okay. All right. Now there are so many things here. What I will tell you today, right? If nothing at all, the certification I'll point you to is what we have down here for the CompTIA Security Plus. I did not write that certificate. Like I told you, when I started out, I was introduced to only CISA. But if you want to get into cybersecurity proper, this CompTIA Security Plus is what will introduce you. It's a foundational level. So when it comes to security, there are levels. We have the foundational level or the entry level. Then we have the intermediate or the professional level. Then we have the advanced or expert level, right? Now, as an intermediate, as an entry level, this CompTIA, I think it's about $70 or $170 or so. You can write this simply. I mean, simple. So imagine getting out of school and you have this already. Even your national service, you can choose where you want to go to. So if the national service, you get fortunate and you are put into an organization where they don't have security, you can actually tell the IT manager that you know something about security and you want to start this. That is how you position yourself. See, a lot of people, you start your national service, you walk through just like that and you come out and you wonder why you were not retained. Not everyone will be retained. Me, I was fortunate enough that my national service, the first day we got there, they told us, none of you should think that you will be retained. That was the first thing. You just imagine how this happened, because everyone goes to the national service hoping that they will be retained, right? And the first meeting, the Director General said, no one will be retained. I just want you to know. So what did I do? What I realized is that my 1 year there is to learn as much as possible from the organization, because they were doing training. So I was sitting in the training for free. So I just took as much as possible. Now I took so much knowledge from them that when I was leaving, I got a job. So I finished my national service on a Friday. On a Monday, I had a job already waiting for me. Now, when I went for the interview, the guy said at the time, so this was 2009, 2010-ish, the guy said, how much do I want to be paid? And then I said, oh, I want 800 cedis at the time. Then they were like, but you're small, but you just finished school, let's give you 600. And I said, no, my worth is more than 600. So just give me 800. Now, when the CEO came, he asked the finance officer that, so you could not negotiate with this small boy. The reason I have just finished national service and I am bargaining and I'm hitting my chest and telling the guy, I'm not taking the 600. Now, it may sound like a small money, but you cast your mind back to 13 years ago. It was quite an amount of money then, right? I could negotiate because I felt the substance in me. I felt that now I am worth more than that, because that 1 year I learned so much and I knew that they needed me. So now that you are starting, you are coming out, I think I have about 17 minutes. Now that you are starting, you can start building yourself up. So even if you get posted into any organization at all, if they have a security team, you can tell them, I want to do security. I already have this course. There's a gentleman in my team now. When he was coming to do his national service, he already had the certification, CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, right? The fact that he has done certified ethical, I didn't even want to know whether he still remembers it or not. But the fact that he has done that course tells me that he at least has some foundational elements when it comes to cybersecurity. Okay, so you can do something. I'm pointing to the Security Plus because it's the easiest to get, and it is the foundation. It just gives you a broad idea of what security, what to look out for. After that, any of these courses that you have here, you should be able to do it, and you should be able to sort of take that course, understand and carry on that path. Yes, Alex.
Please, good evening. Please, what's the difference between the CEH and LPT?
All right. So CEH is Certified Ethical Hacker. They are teaching you to think like so you are not a hacker per se, right? Well, you be a hacker, all right, but an ethical one. So mostly it is on the defense side of things. And then license penetration testing, that goes beyond the ethical hacker. Ethical hacker is sort of generic. They just take you through what a hacker does. What are the things that they do? But the penetration testing, just like the hacker, but this you go deeper, because what penetration testing does is that as an organization, you take an ethical hacker and you tell the person, I want you to try and penetrate into my system, or I want you to break into my system. Okay, so that goes deeper, that gets more technical than the ethical hacker. Ethical hacker is more generic, it just gives you the broad idea of what a hacker group, reconnaissance, and all of that. So that's the difference. They are all within the same domain, but one goes deeper than the other. I think there are some questions on the chat. So, Kwame, if you can help me with if there are any questions on the chat,
Right.
I can take them. And
It's just one person that's posted a question. He says that Emmanuel, he says that this is where it gets confusing. In school, we have can you, okay, Majesty, I'm muting you. Says in school we have a few companies pitched to us. They are authority in cybersecurity of things, in the cyberspace security of things. Ima, I don't understand your question. If you could raise your hand and just ask it, it would be great, because I don't understand your question myself. Okay. So he says that because of that, they are unsure of the path to take. I think, Ima, Albert has already spoken to you about where he feels we can start if you are interested in getting into the cyberspace, right? So yeah. Yes, Albert, continue. I think you answered his question before he would even post the full one, so you can go ahead.
Hello.
well, hi.
Yes, I would like to make a contribution.
Okay, please go ahead.
Back to the person who asked about the CEH and then the LPT. Yeah, just a little contribution. You said everything, Mr. Albert. So for CEH, it's just like in levels. Okay, the CEH and LPT is just like in levels. For the CEH, how you are taught is this: you are taught the generic skills, how the procedures the hackers go through, how the mind of the hackers are. Like for instance, if a hacker want to compromise the IT infrastructure of a company, of a bank, you will see that you understand that they go through certain procedures like reconnaissance, scanning, or they start seeing who they can start exploiting from there. What the LPT does is it's more of a specialization. So in the LPT, you go in depth aside the generic knowledge. So let's say if you also know something like OSCP, which are more practical, it's like you don't deal more with the generic knowledge you need. You now get your hands very dirty. Okay, so let me say the ethical hacker, you actually get more generic about the stuff, though it's also practical, equally practical. But with the LPT, you actually get your hands really dirty. Okay, you get your hands really dirty. That's the difference actually in the another contribution with the LPT and the CH.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. All I see is education.
Newman. I'm Newman.
Newman. All right. Yes, Alex.
So please, you mean the CH is just the base level for hacking and all those kind of things? And is also practical? Is it also practical?
Yes. CEH is a practical course in the sense that let me say this in my own term, like it's a theory practical. One, you understand what the procedures they go through to hack. They will demonstrate everything to you. You will follow up with the demonstration. But when you come to the LPT, let's say when you take something like web penetration testing, you go into detail. You get your hands dirty with the particles. You get your hands dirty. You go a little bit deeper than just the surface, just scratching the surface. Okay, the CH just like a beginner level, though it's also very in-depth, but the LPT is advanced. Okay, the LPT is advanced. You can compare the LPT to just like maybe the OSCP.
Right. Okay. So yeah, thanks, Newman. So that's just about it. That's for instance, you go to school, they teach you that 1 + 1 is equal to 2. That's all you know. You know that about mathematics. You get to the next level, you realize that actually there are some negatives in there and a whole lot of things we can do. The root, square of, then you get to the level where you start doing calculus and all of that. So that's just the same thing, right? So you can see CH as an entry level kind of thing when you want to get into penetration testing and that's that domain. So I am at the end of my presentation. So from this point on, we are just going to take questions. So feel free to ask all your questions.
All right, Albert, let me read the questions in the chat, and then we can take the ones who has lifted their hands. So the one in the chat from Taki says, hello, is it required to know cybersecurity while maintaining a career in software engineering?
Yes. The reason I say that is that now I am actually taking my programmers into a course called secure coding. Why do we say so? Or why do we do that? Now, we just had a conversation about certified ethical hacking and penetration testing. What those guys do is that an organization will hire them to break into their systems. What systems are we talking about? Is the software development, the software that we have developed. So if you have internet banking, for instance, then I hire a penetration tester to break into it. What he's going to do is he's going to leverage on the mistakes that the programmer has done. So it is best for an organization to train the programmers on security so that they think about security when they're doing the programming. You know, when we're doing programming, and I remember at the time you do a login page and you think that is secured. So the login page, the code behind it is that select or where username is equal to the username you've provided and the password is equal to the password you've provided, and then so and so. With just that simple statement, I can actually put in a code, we call it SQL injection, in your username and password, and I'll break into your system, as simple as that. Now, there are so many things, that's just a simple example, but there are so many things or so many mistakes that the programmers do without even noticing that they've made those mistakes. The reason is the programmer is always thinking about functionality. Does it work? When you click, did it work? I am done. You don't think about things like abuse cases. So you put in a test thing, right? And you've said that you can only take 100 characters. Now, if I put in 1 million characters, how will your system handle it? Sometimes your system will just crash, and when it crashes, you realize that your entire code is displayed or your entire database is displayed. So yes, if you ask me, it is a requirement for every programmer to know about cybersecurity. You don't need to know about security operations and physical security and all of that, but at least when it comes to secure coding, you should know so that you incorporate that into your programming.
Okay, then just a quick one. So in that case, do you need a certification for that?
No. It's just the knowledge that you need. You don't need a certification for that. However, if you do have a certification, right? If you're going for a job, right? So let me tell you what certification does. The knowledge is the most important thing, but the certificate is what really tells someone that indeed you know this thing. So if you have two programmers vying for a particular job and one has an additional certificate in security, whom do you think they will hire? The person now thinks that, oh, apart from programming, if I need any security advice, I can actually come to you, right? Or you are going to incorporate security into your programming stuff. So it is not a requirement, but it gives you the added advantage. If you do take an exam and have a certificate back in it. All right. Holmes or OMS. I don't know if you're
good evening. That's a nice presentation. But I want to know more about the certified cyber forensic professional and the healthcare information system and privacy practitioner, those two. And what do you require to take those courses?
All right. So those courses are specializations in security, right? You did mention the health one. The health one is just security, but this time tailoring it to the health sector. So whereas if you're doing something like say CISM, they tell you generically security is this is how you manage security here and there. The health one will now tell you that if you pick say a mammogram, what are the things you need to look out for? If you pick an MRI, or an X-ray machine or this. So now you now get into the whole hospital stuff properly, and they are telling you about things in the hospital, how to handle the patient's information and all of that. This actually came about because in the US, there is a standard that all the hospitals need to abide by. So if you've ever heard of PCI DSS, for those people who issue cards, the hospitals or the healthcare sector, they have a particular standard or a law, so to speak, that they need to stand by. So that's where this thing came out of. Now, forensics is if there's an incident on a computer, something happens, there's a hack here and there, and we call in, say, the police, or internally, we call in the investigators. They now come and then be checking the computer to see, okay, who logged in at what point in time? Did they leave any information? How do we trace back to the IP address and all of that? So that's more of investigation course. That's the forensics one. So that's after, right? So even in security, we have the preventive domains. We have those who are playing defense. We have those who come later and do investigation and all of that. Yes, Alex. I have 3 minutes, guys.
Yes,
Alex.
Please, you see, we need to have knowledge before we go or settle into the real life. But if like you want intern and you want to intern at a company, or you need someone to mentor you, it's really difficult. I don't know why. And is it good? Like I'm now getting to level 200, and is it good for me to go to like IPMC after when we are back to learn over there, or take some set over there?
Yes. It's always good to start early. Why do I say so? By that, I'll tell you what, by your second or third class, it will start dawning on you that actually I'm interested in this space or that space. So you get exposed. You get exposed to all the areas in there. Some of us, we waited till after school before we got exposed to some of these things, right? Others, it is now, after 10 years of coming out of school, that they want to get into security. Fortunately, because I got into security right after national service, I can hit my chest and say that I am 10 plus experience in cybersecurity. Now, people who went to do programming, and all of that, some people, they've made it hit there. Others really didn't go well. They're now struggling to come into security, and you have just 1 or 2 years experience. So the earlier you start, the better for you. You are in second year. If you go to IPMC, you learn one of these courses here, and then it piques your interest. Even whilst you're going through the classes, a lot of things will make sense to you. See, I remember when we were doing pseudocode and machine learning programming and XOL and all of this, it just didn't make sense to me till I completed school, and then some of these things started making sense to me. So if you start now, whatever you're being taught in class will make more sense to you. You get more exposed. If by the time you complete school, you can even say that you have 3 years experience in cybersecurity before you even complete school, right? And then you realize eventually, probably will start, if you do get good at whatever you're learning, if you do get good at it, you start getting gigs even before. If you're going to do internship, you go to a company, let's say you decide to do CH or penetration testing, you go to a company and then you start helping them out with the small applications that they are building. Or even in your class, when your friends or your colleagues do small application and you try to break into the system, it will be fun for you, but then you'll be building your skills, okay? So you don't need to get into a company, or it's always good to have someone, a mentor, hold you and all of that. But if you don't get it, say, I mean, if you decide to do penetration testing and you get some small skill, you're building up on it, just gather your colleagues, let them do some software and then scatter their software for them. That's when you realize that you're actually having fun within the space.
Great. Guys, listen, we are having fun, we're enjoying this, but our time is up. Albert has to leave. But before he leaves, Jeff's hand has been up for the most, and I think there are about 4 questions in the chat box. I want to read all the questions through. Albert, give us maybe some 5 minutes extra Just answer the questions for us and then we can sign out from here. The first question says that if you are interested in cryptography, how do you go about it? Just that. The second one says that, can you go straight into specialization or you have to take a generic course first? And then the third one says, please, so if you are into cybersecurity and you are undertaking CEH course, what courses would you recommend next?
Right.
The last one says, what advice do you give to we upcoming youngsters? Okay, so when these questions are done, Jeff, you ask your question and it will be good to go.
Okay, so I would say that if you're interested in cryptography, how do you go about it? So I haven't seen yet a full course on cryptography. It is usually used in some of the security tools here and there. But the mainstream courses, we haven't seen one that talks about cryptography end to end. Okay. Yes, we have people who do cryptography services. They talk about keys and all of that, but the role they play, it's something that people have developed and they are just managing it. You won't go and be developing things in cryptography unless you get into a very big academia or a huge industry that is developing software systems that does cryptography. Okay, so what I would say is that you can take any of the generic courses, learn about it yourself, but I haven't seen yet, I stand to be corrected again, any course that's full-blown cryptography. So if you do your master's, you can decide to do that in cryptography, or even if it's doctorate, you can decide to do that. Maybe by then, there would have been a full-blown course on that. The next question that talks about, so it's always best to start with a generic course before you move into specialization. The reason is, chances are after the generic course, you may even now realize that what you wanted to specialize in is not that interesting. You would have found something that's even more interesting. Okay, and two, by the time you get into the specialization field, the expectation is that you have the foundation already covered, which is the generic course. So the generic course will give you the foundation. It's just like building a house and you say you want to do a pergola on top of the house. Without the foundation, the pergola will just be standing there. Yes, you would have a pergola, but there will be no foundation that will be standing on. So my advice would be to do the general course first before you start moving into specialization. If you want to get into cybersecurity and undertaking CH course, what courses would you recommend next? The next course you need to take depends really on your interest. Like you have there are so many courses that you would want to. Now after the CH, you just need to ask yourself which area in security you want to go to. Do you want to do penetration testing? And mind you, penetration testing is just a small portion of the entire security thing, right? If you do something like, say, Certified Information Security Manager, that talks about how to manage security in an organization. So guys, let me say this. In Ghana, a lot of the job requirements, okay, we are looking at people who can manage security. We are looking at people who can do penetration testing. We are looking at people who can do this and all of that. There are so many things in there. So I can't really say from CH you go to here or there. It doesn't follow like that. It just depends on your interest, and you would have a course that really speaks to your interest. What advice will you give to upcoming youngsters? I think you would wrap up everything that has been mentioned. Just start early, develop an interest, read. You need to read a lot. Articles, stuff like security. If you go to online right now and then you type security news, there's so many things. Now, if you read the news and realize that, the people have done ABC. So for instance, now there's a lot of talk about IoT IoT is Internet of Things. So things like fridges that being hooked up to the internet, cameras that being hooked up to the internet. People are hacking them. How do you secure such? Now it would pique your interest. Like, how can someone protect a fridge that is connected to the internet? Then you start doing research. You start reading about it. You realize there are so many things in there. For certifications, you I took classes for some and others. I mean, once you do 1 or 2 classes and then you pass 2 exams, the rest you're able to do self-studies and then just go about it. But it is important that if you are starting, you take a class, because you need someone to hold your hands, at least give you a brief idea, and then you can decide to do self-studies for the rest of them. But it's always good to do a class when you are starting. Okay, EC Council has an encryption specialization certificate track. Okay, that's nice. So that cryptography guy, I understand that EC Council has a course like that. So you can look into that as well. All right. I think we can take Jeff.
Hello guys, I'm Jeff, and hey Albert, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while now, and I must commend you for your good work. You're really championing cybersecurity in Ghana, and very proud of you.
Thanks.
I work as a technology lead with my company, where I specialize more in the cybersecurity field here in the US. And I'm very happy that finally there's a law enacted for cybersecurity, and I hope to get a reading of it. But one issue that I had with the act was training. I don't know if that was really entrenched in the act, but as we all know, like the weakest link to cyber attacks is human factor. And so therefore, cyber training is supposed to be mandatory, or let's say a prerequisite in any organization that we find ourselves. And it's something that I really hope to see that is well entrenched in our organizations and in our schools. Over here, it's some sort of a basic training that we go through most often in organizations and schools as well. For example, the consulting company that I work for, we are more into healthcare consulting in terms of cybersecurity. So I remember you were talking about standards that in the US, healthcare cybersecurity professionals abide by, and that is a HIPAA, actually. And so HIPAA actually recommends that professionals get trained over and over again. Like we take monthly training, quarterly training, and yearly training. And as part of my task as a vulnerability manager, I'm supposed to brief high-level team about the current trends of attacks, the current attacks in the system, the current attacks in the world. And I think by so doing, I end up reading articles, making researches every morning to find out about latest threats in the world. So what I'm trying to say is that I think as security professionals or IT professionals, we are always supposed to make sure that we are up to task, and then we follow the trend by making sure we always get to know the current threats and attacks that are currently moving the world. So we can always find out how best we can help our organizations mitigate these threats. Yeah. And you made a very good point with the certification and then career path. So for instance, I started as a data center technician with IBM. And then from there, I moved over to AWS as a networking guy. So basically, I started with networking. From networking, I moved to cloud computing. From cloud computing, then I switched to cybersecurity. And this is where I find myself. And I'm currently, even within cybersecurity space, I'm currently doing my master's degree in digital forensics, where I'm trying to dive deeper into cybersecurity and then specialize in forensics. It's, as young professionals that we are, I think that the most important thing is to at least get our foot at the door, fall in love with our career. There are so many branches, so many domains that we can look at when it comes to cybersecurity, from from SOC to GRC to other domains that Albert was talking about. But it's all about getting our foot at the door. And then when you get exposed to the bigger picture, you can always make a choice. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. That was a great contribution. Right. Kwame, I see one gentleman who is really pushing cybersecurity in the name of Blair. I see online. Would you like to add something?
Okay, Mr. Albert, thank you for inviting me. I was really happy when I saw a team member post it on our group that you were going to talk about career path. So I decided to join, and I followed your conversation from almost the start, and then I really liked it, talking about how people have to get the certification. Actually, in Ghana here, everybody cares about certification. The HR, mostly they care about certification a lot. So it's always advisable that when you want to get started with cybersecurity, you have to get the certification. It's expensive, though it's expensive, yeah. But you shouldn't look at the fact that it's expensive. Go in for the certification. But before you go in for the certification, you ask yourself, where do I want to be? Which aspect of cybersecurity do I want to belong? Do I want to be a defensive or offensive? When you know which one you want to join, then you go in for it. So for instance, if you go in for offensive, you can go in for the certified ethical hacker, the licensed penetration tester, the OSCP. If it's defensive, there are other SOC certifications, there are other malware defense certifications and all that. So I think people should always get the first thing right. Which one do you have more interest in? Where you have the interest, you push in all your efforts. And then mentorship is really important. Those who want to get started with cybersecurity, feel free, hook up with Mr. Albert. He's a great guy. Mr. Albert, for instance, has been nominated as the best CEO in Africa. So these are the kind of people we need in our industry. These are the kind of people we actually need in our industry. You walk up to them on LinkedIn, or you just get into their DMs and then say, hey, I'm getting started with cybersecurity. Mr. Albert, how do you get to the level you are now? Then he'll take it up from there. He'll mentor you and all that. We are all available. So please, mentorship is really important. Thank you once again.
All right, thanks.
Great stuff.
Kwame, over to you.
This has been amazing. See, guys, if we want to go on, we won't finish. But Albert, first of all, let me say thank you very much for your time. Guys, just so you know, today is Albert's wife's birthday, and he was supposed to take the wife out for a date, and I brought him here. So you better appreciate his time. Bro, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you so much. And thank you, Jeff, for hopping in, and thank you, Abu, for sharing your thoughts. Abu, I'll definitely be in touch after here. But guys,
thank you very much, Kwame.
This is the beginning of great sessions that we are going to have from now till the end of the year. So I would entreat every one of you to not miss any of the sessions. There are diverse spaces in tech that we are going to have conversations about with different people. On Friday, there will be another session with a friend of mine from Uganda. That would also be an amazing session. So I'm looking forward to you all joining. But let me say security is a very important thing if you choose to be in tech. Even if you don't want to focus solely on cybersecurity, learning about security is a great thing for you. I remember when I was working at TV3 as tech and innovations manager then, I hired a guy, not because the guy had any certificates, because somebody introduced him to me, and then my friend and I were building a platform. So I exposed it to him, and I said he should test. Sorry, my son is here and he's shouting. Pardon me. I exposed it to the guy and I asked him to try and see if he can hack into the system. Then he penetrated into the platform that we thought we had secured, right? And I was impressed. And right there and then, I hired him for a job that he didn't have a certificate for. So I'm just saying, learning about security is something great, and I think all of us should pay attention to that. Whether you want to be a software developer or you want to be a hardware engineer or whatever it is, security is very great. But guys, thank you so much for making time to be on here. There's a feedback form that I would love for each one of us to fill. So I'm dropping it in the chat. Kindly click on it and please fill the form, give me feedback, and then we would have more sessions. I'm hoping to see all of you on Friday for the next session. We'll put a poster out from tomorrow and so we'll get to engage. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I appreciate all of you. Have a great night and enjoy yourselves.